Two sports powerhouses are facing each other in court with the future of NASCAR racing, you could say, on the line here. The stock car giant is being sued by two racing teams, one of them co-owned by NBA legend, and legend is the word, the great Michael Jordan. So they claim that NASCAR abuses its power in monopolistic ways as a premier racing organization in the U.S. NASCAR says it has done nothing wrong. Adriana Diaz is following this historic trial. Adriana, good morning to you.
Good morning. The judge in this case has already ruled that NASCAR does have a monopoly, but not all monopolies are illegal. The question now for the jury is whether or not NASCAR abused its power to limit competition and harm some team owners like Michael Jordan.
Just 1 month after NASCAR crowned its 2025 champion, some of the most well-known names in the sport are fighting the organization in federal court. 23XI racing team owners Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, who's also one of the top drivers in NASCAR, are suing the premier racing organization, alleging it is violating antitrust laws. The trouble's been brewing for years, but came to a head last September when 13 of the 15 teams in NASCAR signed new charter agreements. A charter in NASCAR is like a franchise in other sports. Being chartered guarantees your car will have a spot in all races and a specified share of revenue. Jordan and Hamlin's 23XI Racing and a second team, Front Row Motorsports, wanted permanent charters and did not sign the new agreement.
Jordan sues NASCAR. This is huge. We know Michael Jordan, NBA legend. He's suing NASCAR because NASCAR is running a monopoly and it's going against the antitrust laws. What is a charter? So a charter is basically your agreement that it's like you can get on and be able to be into all the races. It's like a license to compete in NASCAR. It's different than like the NBA, right? So like when we have these charters in NASCAR, if I have a NASCAR team, I can get a license to compete, but it's short term. Whereas in the NBA, if you buy a franchise, that franchise is part of NBA no matter what. It's not temporary. So for Michael Jordan, he's looking at it like, well, if I make all this money and investing into this team, but if I don't sign this agreement, now I can get kicked out and now I lost all this money. Another thing that's so crazy about NASCAR as we do more and more into it, NASCAR owns everything in the system. They own the league, they write the rules, they own many racetracks, they sell the rights, they control team access, and they decide revenue splits and approves and denies team sales. They're a monopoly. That's basically what it is. They are controlling everything. They're making sure that they give these guys temporary licenses because they don't really have a say. So if somebody disagrees, I'll kick you out. But it's hard to do that to Michael Jordan. This is the reason why I believe one of the reasons why Michael Jordan was happily brought into NASCAR because of who he is. You're not going to tell Michael Jordan to get out of here. This is the reason why this case is drawing so much. But I just believe that some of these guys just need to go ahead and start their own competing league against NASCAR when we look at it because, NASCAR is the boss. They're the regulator and they're the business partner and they're the competitor gatekeeper. They're keeping you from these guys being able to compete in other races. You can't race on any other racetrack unless it's owned by NASCAR. It's really like when we look into it, it's like they're a monopoly, and these guys are putting in so much money into this sport because we know NASCAR is a lot of money. Just to have a NASCAR team, it's crazy. It's crazy money, but it's a great sport. It's been around for a long time, but NASCAR has owned everything. They are the gatekeepers. They're keeping guys out. They're not letting you do whatever you want to do. So I like the fact that we got Jordan fighting for something that's right. But I do believe, though, if I'm spending all this money for a NASCAR team, it should be permanent. I shouldn't be signing short-term agreements with different rules every single time. See, Jordan is just bringing that NBA mindset and that business mindset into NASCAR because he wants something stable. And just like the other guy, I believe, is Danny Hamlin, who's a great NASCAR driver as well. They want something stable because when you are a permanent fixture in the league, now you're a partner, not just somebody working for the league. Like in the NBA, all these owners are partners with the NBA. They all work together. They have meetings and stuff. They decide on things. They decide on revenue splits and stuff like that. I believe that NASCAR is a monopoly. And what would happen from this case? I just believe that sometimes, start your own league. I think the biggest difficulty to start your own NASCAR league or your own race car league to make it really successful is the tracks. See, that's what the NASCAR has over them is the tracks, and they put in their contract, if you're with us, you can only race on our tracks. But if you only want us to race on your tracks, then make us a permanent fixture and make us a permanent team of NASCAR so we can always stay with you guys. But if you're having me on these short-term things with different revenue splits and all of that, I should be able to explore different avenues during the season to be able to make money for the team. It's like they holding the team nuts, but then they don't want them to, they don't want them to make money. They want them to keep them right where they're at, give them enough so they can return. So I'm curious to see what happens from this. You know, Michael Jordan, man, like, I just think he's bringing that NBA mentality, the NBA concept of saying like, yeah, we just want to be partners and make a good chunk of money because some of these guys are going out of business. Some of these guys are barely staying afloat. You know, NASCAR is very, 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 very expensive. So I'm curious to see what Jordan does with this and just continue to follow this. But, you know, shout out for Jordan, though.
Their lawsuit alleges NASCAR limits competition through its ownership and control of most racetracks and by banning the use of NASCAR Cup Series cars in other racing events. NASCAR, on the other hand, points to its increasing payouts to drivers as evidence it is acting in good faith and is not anti-competitive.
This potentially could have the biggest impact on NASCAR in history of the sport, period.
Jordan Bianchi is a NASCAR reporter with The Athletic and says the fallout could be significant no matter the outcome.
If this is blown up by the judge and 2311 and Front Row win this, you could see all sorts of different things. One, there's damages, right? We're talking $200, $300 million max damages. The judge could look at this and say, hey, NASCAR, you're going to have to get rid of all your tracks. And this could have a huge domino effect of how the series operates going forward.
If NASCAR loses ownership of its tracks, that could mean other racing competitions would be able to use NASCAR tracks for their races. And Hamlin got teary-eyed yesterday talking about how he got into the sport when he took the stand. He will continue his testimony when court resumes today. And Michael Jordan also plans to testify in the trial, which is expected to last about 2 weeks. NASCAR's season starts again in February.
Boy, Michael Jordan on the stand, Adriana, bring your popcorn. I think more people will pay attention just because he's involved with it.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting case all the way around.
Already some jurors had to be dismissed, during jury selection because a lot of them love Michael Jordan.
Yes.
So he's already had a
All of
big
them.
presence in the courtroom.
Wow.
Who doesn't love Michael Jordan?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to find a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens with this. You know, a lot of people in our culture, we don't really look at NASCAR. And I think that having Michael Jordan in there kind of puts that spotlight onto the sport. And you kind of see that, oh, that sport is it's a monopoly. You know, the NBA doesn't do this. The NFL doesn't do this. You know, so I definitely believe that if you own a charter and you own it, like you own a team, I think what it is it needs to stop being a charter, and it needs to be that you own a team and you paid a fee to own that team and whatever that works out, but you're part of that team and you can never be kicked off once you make that initial payment to be in NASCAR and you have that team. It's like the NBA, right? Like all these guys in the very beginning of the NBA, they probably paid a fee to the league and then they probably, revenue or whatever with the league, but they're now a permanent fixture unless they get bought out by somebody else or something like that. The team never goes anywhere. I just think that we need to have in NASCAR, it needs to be more of a permanent fixture of having a team. The teams are part of NASCAR no matter what. So now NASCAR is more of the governing body and not the dictatorship that they are now. So it's pretty interesting to learn more stuff like this. This is why you need to open up your realm. There's a bigger world outside of basketball and football and baseball. There's a bunch of other sports, man, but this is pretty cool. But we're going to keep an eye on this, man. Curious to see. But, having Michael Jordan definitely adds a bigger spotlight to this because if Michael Jordan wasn't there, people wouldn't really care. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell. And as always, we're going to keep this thing rocking. Daily show coming soon.